Here is our 7.3 unit review. So the first question here asks us to find the diameter of a circle with a radius of 7. So we need to think about what are they asking us to find and what do we have. They're asking us to find the diameter and we have the radius, and we know that the radius is twice of the radius is the diameter. So we are just going to say, okay, our diameter is 2 times 7 or 14. Okay, the next question, find the radius of a circle with a diameter of 10. So we're trying to find the radius and we know the diameter. So if we just look at a quick picture, our diameter would be 10, our radius is half of that. So in that case, we divide by 2 and that is going to be 5. Those two problems do not involve any pi because the diameter and radius just relate by being doubled. The next question here is find the circumference with a radius of 10. Now if you remember, to find the circumference, we have to first find the diameter, and then we multiply the diameter by pi. So my radius is 10, that means my diameter is 20. It's all the way across. So we're going to go 20 times 3.14, that's 62.8. This problem gave us our radius and we had to use the radius to find the diameter. The next problem is different because they actually just give us our diameter. So our diameter is 10. So circumference is first find our diameter, which is 10, and we times it by pi. So that will give us the 31.4. Okay, there's the first 4 problems on our test review. All right, the next question asks us a very basic question. It just wants to know what is the constant of proportionality between the circumference and our diameter. So if we take our circumference and we divide our diameter, that is always going to be the same constant of proportionality, and that's what pi is. That's why pi is so special. It is the relationship of our diameter, or our circumference, divided by our diameter. The next question, let's just go over to the right side here. True or false? The area of a circle with a diameter of 1 is equal to pi. So they want us to know if our radius times pi of our situation, is that equal to pi or not? So first we have to find our radius. Well, they don't give us the radius, they give us the diameter. So if our diameter is 1, our radius is half of that. So we're going to go 0.5 times 0.5 times 3.14, and we get 0.785. So that is definitely not pi. So that means that this statement is false. Okay. The question right below it, I'm going to do that first because that kind of relates to what we just did here. True or false? The circumference of a circle with radius of 1 is equal to pi. Well, we're looking at circumference. So circumference is diameter times pi. So if my radius here is 1, that means my diameter is 2. So that is 6.28, which is not equal to pi. So this is also false. Okay, my next question. Find the area of a circle with radius 7. So we're finding the area, and we know our radius is 7. The area formula tells us we need to have our radius, and we're going to go radius times pi. So that gives us 7 times pi. And if we calculate that out, we get 153.86. So that is our area. The question below this one, find the area of a circle with a diameter of 7. It's a little bit harder because we have our area. We're still trying to find area. So that's radius times pi. But the problem is we don't have our radius. We only have our diameter. So to find the diameter, we just divide our radius by 2. And we plug that in to the formula. 3.5 times 3.5 times 3.14. And we get 38.465. All right, on the second page, they start to get a little bit harder, so let's take a look. True or false? The circumference of a circle with a diameter of 1 is pi. So here's a circle. Its diameter is 1, and we're trying to figure out if the circumference is pi or not. So let's check. We're going to take circumference is equal to our diameter, which is 1, times pi, or 3.14. And that equals 3.14, which means that if this is true. The next true or false question, I'm just going to go through all these true or false ones, is the area of a circle and its radius is proportional. Well, here's a secret, and this is always true. And we talked about this. Area is not proportional because when we look at the formula, there's a squared on our radius. And that squared kind of causes the relationship to not be proportional anymore. So this would be false. The next question says, the circumference of a circle and its radius is proportional. Well, circumference is equal to the diameter times pi. And we already know that means that this is proportional. It's a linear equation. Our constant of proportionality is the 3.14, so this one would be true. All right, next. Whoa, sorry, that was a little wild. The circumference. These next 3 are tricky questions. So I'm going to kind of give you a little scaffold on how to actually solve these problems. So what I want to do is I want to say, okay, we're finding the circumference and they give us the area. So to find the circumference here, we need to know the diameter and then we multiply the diameter by pi. The problem is they don't give us the diameter. They don't even give us the radius. They give us the area. So what we're going to do is we're going to back construct the radius given the area. So we know that area equals 78.5, and that is our radius times pi. So I'm going to divide out the pi from both of those. So I'm going to divide pi from both sides, and I get that would be 25. So my radius times my radius is 25. Now we have to think about this. We can't just really solve it. We kind of can, but we don't actually have the tools. So we're just going to have to think about how we can get our radius knowing that radius times radius is 25. So we're going to think about what times what is 25. Well, that would be 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And if we have our radius is 5, that means our diameter is double that, 10. And so in order to find the circumference, we just take our diameter times pi, which gives us 31.4. So it's the back engineering that we need to do that makes these problems a little bit tricky. Okay, this next question Same idea. We need to find the area of the circle. So we need to find the area knowing that the circumference is 62.8. So first thing I'm going to do is my circumference is equal to 62.8. I'm going to divide by pi, and that's going to give me my diameter. So 62.8 divided by 3.14 is 20. So my diameter is 20. If my diameter is 20, that means my radius is half of that. That would be 10. And to find the area now, we have all the information we need. We just needed to get that radius. So we're going to go 10 times pi, 3.14, and that is 100 times pi, so 314. Okay, now let's take a look at this last one. This is the trickiest one. I don't believe yours will be this difficult, but let's just take a look. It's one more reverse engineering. We're going to find the circumference, knowing the area of... Okay, this was written down wrong. But technically the area is 2,826 square inches. The square should have been after the number. I'm not sure why that happened, because I copied and pasted all of these. But we've got here, our area is 2,826. We're going to divide by pi, and that's going to give me my area, or that's just going to give me 900. That 900 is my radius times my radius. So we need to think about what number times itself is 900. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. So that's how we get the 9. And then so it's going to be 30. My radius is 30. If my radius is 30, that means to find the circumference, we have almost everything we need. We just need to find our diameter. The radius is 30, that means my diameter is 60. So then we're just going to go 60 times 3.14. And when we calculate that out, we get 188.4. Okay, now the next three problems are the three probably hardest problems. It says find the area and the perimeter of the shape. I'm going to talk about the area first because I think the area is the hardest, but these are not that bad. One thing this shape fails to do is tell us that this is also 10. That should be a square. Okay, so that means that the radius of my circle is 10 and each side of my square is 10. So first I'm going to find the area of each of the squares. Well, if we have a square and its area is 10 by 10, or its sides are 10 and 10, to find the area, we just multiply those. 10 times 10 is 100. So I have 3 squares. Each of those squares has an area of 100. Now we have the area of the circles. If I push those circles together, you'll see they form one giant circle. Well, they're half circles, so that's why. So my area is found by first getting the radius, which is 10, and just going 10 times 10 times 3.14, which, if you just multiply those out, the area of the circle is 314. So we have the area of the circle is 314, then we have 100, 100, 100. And if we add all of that together, we get our area is 614 square meters, square units, whatever the unit is. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to find the perimeter. And to do that, I am going to erase everything on my shape. I'm going to start over here. So the perimeter is what I'm drawing in green. It's the outside fencing of the shape. That's how I think of it. So we have this length and this length are 10, and this length and this length are 10. So we have 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. Then we have this part, which is, if you notice, just like before, if we push those together, we end up with a circle. So then we just need to find the circumference of the circle. Okay, so we have to find the diameter of our circle. If the radius is 10, our diameter is just double that, 20, and we've got 20 times pi. So our total perimeter is the 40 of the squares plus the circumference of the circle, which is 62.8, and that gives us 102.8. There we go. There is the area and the perimeter of that really weird shape. Okay, this shape, I misread to a couple of you, so hopefully you're watching this. I'm sorry. But they actually just want us to find the perimeter, not the area, the perimeter. So to find the perimeter, that's just around the shape. There's some basic perimeters here, like this is 10, this is 10, this is 5, and that is 5. That's pretty simple. Those are the simple parts of the perimeter. We have 10 plus 10 plus 5 plus 5. So that's the perimeter going around of everything except for that little green part that's all by itself. This green part, if you notice, it kind of looks like part of a circle. And that's because it is part of a circle. So if I took this part right here, and I'm going to say that this part of the circle is right here. We've got this part is 1/4 of the entire circle circumference. So I'm going to find the circumference. My radius is 5. That means my diameter is 10 times 3.14. So that's 31.4 is my circumference. But I only want the quarter of that, so 1/4 of that. So I'm just going to divide that by 4 and find out what 31.4 is. 31.4 divided by 4 is 7.85. So this part is 7.85. I add that to my running total of my perimeter, and we end up with 27.85 as our perimeter. All right, just for fun, if we are asked to find the area, what we're going to do, I'm going to start all over here. I made a mistake there. Okay. To find the area, what I would do is I would break my shape up into 4 different squares, and I would go, okay, this area is 25 because we have 5 times 5. This area is also 25, and this area is 25. Then I would do the same thing as I did with my circumference. I would just find a quarter of my circle, but instead of finding the circumference, I'm going to find the radius. My radius is 5, and 5 times 5 is 25 times 3.14. Okay, so I found my my area is 78.5 of my entire circle. I'm going to divide that by 4 because I only have 1/4 of a circle, and we get 19.625. And that is the circle part. Then I just add all my pieces together. So 75 plus 19.625, whatever that is. Since the problem doesn't ask for the area, I'm not going to figure it out. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let's go ahead and go on to the last question. Okay, this is a weird one. It says a groundskeeper needs to grass seed to cover a circular field. So here's our grass circular field. Okay, we're going to start, before we do anything else, we're covering the field so we know we are finding the area because we are covering the field. Covering is area. So we have radius times 3.14. The only problem is they don't give us the radius, they give us the diameter. So what we need to do is we need to find our diameter, and we're going to divide it by 2, and that is going to give us our radius is 145. So now we find the area. It's 145 times 145 times 3.14. And if we calculate that out, we get 66,018.5. Now here's the problem. They're not asking for the area. They're asking for 1 pound of grass seed covers about 400 square feet of field. How many pounds of grass seed should the groundskeeper buy to cover the circular field? Well, if 1 pound covers 400, we need to just figure out how many pounds we will need to cover 66,000. So we're going to divide it by however many square feet the grass field covers. And so I'm just going to take that number and divide by 400. And we get 165. So that means 165 pounds will cover the entire grass field. All right, that is it for the test review. Good luck studying, and we'll see you soon.